Today we're breaking down one of the best-selling financial books of all time. This book didn't just change how I think about money, it changed how I think about everything. And I genuinely believe that it will do the same for you. By the end of this video, you will start seeing money the way the rich see it, thinking the way they think, and hopefully building wealth the way they did. This is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by the legendary Robert Kiyosaki. Welcome to my channel. My name is Robert, and no, I'm not the author of this book. We just share the same name. On this channel, I break down the most important books into simple ideas you can actually use. If that sounds useful, subscribe because there's a lot more coming. Kiyosaki opens the book with an introduction that I honestly considered one of the best introductions I've ever read in any book. His message is clear: being rich starts in the mind and being poor starts in the mind, not in the wallet. You can have someone with $5 million but with a poor mindset, and eventually he will lose all 5 millions. On the other hand, you can have someone with only 1,000 but with a rich mindset, and this person could become a millionaire. And he's right. I'm sure you know someone who started from zero and become a millionaire, and someone who inherited millions and millions from his parents and grandparents and lost them all, right? In the introduction, Kiyosaki makes a beautiful comparison between the rich mindset and the poor mindset. He started the story with, I had two fathers, a rich one and a poor one. One was highly educated and intelligent. The other father never finished 8th grade. Both men were successful in their careers, working hard all their life. Both earned high income. Yet one always struggled financially. The other one became one of the richest people in Hawaii. One died leaving tens of millions of dollars to his family's charity and church. The other died leaving behind unpaid debts. Kiyosaki also says that when he was young, both families were middle class at the time. The rich dad wasn't rich yet and the poor dad wasn't poor yet. The two dads offered him advice, but they didn't advise the same thing. And the difference between their thinking was almost unbelievable. For example, one of them used to say, the love of money is the root of all evil. He believed that people who chased money, businesses, and success are the reasons evil exists in this world. He believed that they are the ones who take other people's money and that they are the reason there are poor people and there's hunger and poverty. The other said the lack of money is the root of all evil. He believed that if there were no poor people, there would be less theft, less violence, and less corruption. You're starting to see the difference between the two mindsets, right? One dad always said, I can't afford it. The other dad hated this sentence. He banned it from his house. Instead, he forced Robert to ask a different question. How can I afford it? His rich dad used to explain it like this. When you say, I can't afford it, your brain shuts down. But when you ask, how can I afford it, your brain starts to work. Of course, he didn't mean you should buy everything you want. What he meant is that you need to train your mind to find solutions. This one is great. One dad recommended, study hard so you can find a good company to work for. The other recommended, study hard so you can find a good company to buy. Same advice, completely different mindset. It's actually crazy when you think about it. And listen to this. One dad said, the reason I'm not rich because I have you kids. The other said, the reason I must become rich is because I have you kids. A completely different way of thinking. Let's keep going. It's gonna get more interesting. One said, when it comes to money, play it safe. Don't take risks. The other said, learn to manage risks. And here's something more interesting. One dad believed that your house is your biggest asset. The other believed that the house you live in is a liability, not an asset. It costs you bills, maintenance, and ongoing expenses, so it's a liability. What do you think? Do you agree with this? Let's keep going. One always said, I'll never be rich, not even in my dreams. The other, even before becoming rich, always said, I'm a rich man and rich people don't do this. Even when he was completely broke after a huge financial setback, he always called himself rich. He would say, and listen to this, it's very important, there is a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is temporary. Being poor is eternal. So don't be afraid of being broke, be afraid of staying poor. What a sentence by Kiyosaki, great sentence. Robert also noticed that his poor dad wasn't poor because of the amount of money he was making, because he was making significant amount of money, but because of his thoughts and actions. And he noticed that the rich dad was rich because he thought like the rich, handled money like the rich, and saw money the way the rich see it. Kiyosaki then tells a very beautiful story that happened to him in Hawaii when he was 9 years old. In 1956, on the island of Hawaii, Robert came to his dad and says, "Dad, can you tell me how to become rich?" His dad put down the evening paper, looked at him and said, "Why do you want to become rich, my son?" So Robert says, "Because today Jimmy's mother drove up in their new Cadillac and they were going to their beach house for the weekend. Jimmy took 3 of his friends with him, but Mike and I weren't invited. He said we weren't invited because we were poor kids." So his dad thought for like a minute. "Okay, if you want to become rich, you need to learn how to make money." "And how do I make money?" "You must use your head," his father said. Robert knew what that answer meant. "I don't know the answer, don't embarrass me." You know, when you ask your father some embarrassing questions that he don't know the answers to. Anyway, the next morning, Robert went to his best friend Mike and told him what his dad had said and offered Mike to become his partner. Mike was confused and said, "Partner in what?" "Partner in making money. Don't you want to become like Jimmy? He has toys, money, a beach house, and a great life. Don't you want that?" So Mike agreed, and that morning Robert found his first business partner. From that moment on, the two boys began brainstorming. They started thinking of all the ways they can make money. Finally, they come up with a great idea. They shook hands and decided to start making money. For weeks, Robert and Mike went door to door collecting toothpaste tubes. Back in the 1950s, Crest toothpaste were made of leads. They also grabbed soda cans and other materials. Then came the big moment. They melted down the lead toothpaste and carefully poured the liquid into the molds. One day, Robert's dad drove with a friend and watched in amazement as 2 9-year-olds ran a coin-making operation. Robert's dad was so confused and asked, "What are you kids doing?" Robert proudly held a coin he had made and said, "Dad, we're making money like you told us." His dad smiled and then said, "Son, that's counterfeiting." Robert was shocked. "You mean this is illegal?" His dad nodded and explained what he meant by making money, the clean and smart way. So Robert and Mike took making money literally. Anyway, disappointed, Mike and Robert sat in silence, staring at the mess they had made. Their coin-making business was over before it had even really begun. Robert's dad felt sorry for them and said, "You know, if you boys want to make money, don't just ask me. Talk to your father, Mike. Your father is brilliant when it comes to making money." Mike was shocked. "My father? Then how come we don't have a nice car or a nice house?" So Robert's dad replied, "A nice car and a nice house doesn't necessarily mean you're rich." Jimmy's dad worked for the sugar plantation. The company gave him the car and the house, but the company is in financial trouble. Jimmy's dad may soon have nothing. Your dad is different, Mike. He's building an empire, and I suspect that in a few years he will become very rich. So Mike went to his father and asked him if he could teach them how to make money. His father agreed and told him to come meet him on Saturday. And on Saturday, Robert went to Mike's house for their meeting. The house was old and a little cluttered, but it has a small office and a few employees moving about. Mike's father owned 2 stores and a warehouse, and 3 managers were already there meeting with Mike's dad. Robert and Mike stood on a line waiting for their turn to see Mike's dad. And after some waiting, it was their turn. They walked into the office and Mike's dad was already sitting at his desk. He said to Robert, "Mike told me you want to learn how to make money. Is that true?" "Yes, that's true," Robert said. Mike's father looked at the boys and laid out his terms. "I will teach you, but not in a classroom. You work for me and I'll teach you. You don't work for me, I won't. If you just want to sit and listen like you do in school, then I'm wasting my time. This is my offer. Take it or leave it." Robert opened his mouth ready to ask a question, but Mike's dad cut him off. "No questions. This is the offer. Take it or leave it." If you don't learn to make decisions quickly, you will never learn to make money. Opportunities come and go, and being able to decide fast is an important skill. You said you wanted to learn how to make money, and this is your chance. So Robert and Mike both accepted the offer. Then Mike's dad continued. After I finish my meeting with Miss Martin, you will drive with her to the store and you can start working. I'll pay you 10 cents an hour, 3 hours every Saturday. But I have a baseball game, Robert said. Mike's dad's voice turned firm. Take it or leave it. I'll take it, Robert replied, choosing to work and learn instead of playing. So if you were in Robert's place, what would you choose? Would you go play with your friends, or would you go to work and learn how to make money? Because this was the first lesson Robert learned. Opportunities don't wait. You either take them or you miss them. Anyways, the days passed and the two boys started working at the store. Their job was simple: cleaning shelves, dusting, and organizing items. Every Saturday, they worked for 3 hours and earned 10 cents per hour. By the fourth week, Robert was frustrated and ready to quit. He had agreed to work because he wanted to learn how to make money from Mike's dad. But instead, he felt like he was just working like a slave for 10 cents an hour. And the worst part, he hadn't seen Mike's dad since that first Saturday. Even Robert's poor dad was angry when he heard that his son is working for only 10 cents an hour. And he told him, "You should demand what you deserve. Ask for 25 cents an hour, and if he refused, just quit. Your time is valuable, son." So Robert went to Mike and told him he wanted to quit. Mike just smiled and said, "My dad told me this would happen. He told me that when you feel ready to quit, you should go and see him." The following Saturday, Robert went to Mike's house to speak with Mike's father. He sat in the living room and waited. One by one, the employees who were there for business meetings went into the office and then left. Robert waited for nearly an hour. He could hear Mike's dad inside the office talking on the phone. You can imagine what was going on. Robert was getting angrier and angrier. He felt ignored, underpaid, and ready to quit. Finally, Mike's dad called Robert into the office. "I understand you want a raise or you will quit, right?" he said. "Yes, you broke your promise. You said you would teach me if I worked for you. I have given up my baseball games to work for you, but you haven't kept your word. You haven't taught me anything. You're greedy. You want all the money for yourself and you don't take care of your employees. You made me wait for nearly an hour and you don't show me any respect." The rich dad leaned back in his chair and stared at Robert. "Not bad," he said. "In less than a month, you sound like most of my employees." Robert was confused. "What? I thought you were gonna teach me how to make money." "I am teaching you," the rich dad replied. "What exactly are you teaching me? You haven't spoken to me once. So you want me to teach you the way schools do? Sit you down and give you a lecture?" "Well, yes," Robert answered. "That's how they teach in school." "That's not how life teaches you," the rich dad said, smiling. "Most of the time, life doesn't talk to you. It just pushes you around. Each push is life saying, 'Wake up, there's something I want you to learn.' If you learn the lesson, you will do well. If not, life will keep pushing you. You boys are the first to ever ask me to teach you how to make money. So I designed a course that mirrors real life. That's why I only paid you 10 cents an hour. That's part of the lesson." So Robert said, "So the lesson is that you're cheap and exploit your employees?" The rich dad laughed and said, "You'd better change your point of view. Stop blaming me and thinking I'm the problem. If you think I'm the problem, then you have to change me. If you realize that you're the problem, then you can change yourself, learn something, and grow wiser." Most people in the world want everyone to change but themselves. Let me tell you, it's easier to change yourself than try to change everyone else. Don't blame me for your problems. "But you're the problem. If you don't teach me and pay me more, I'll quit." That's exactly what most people do, the rich dad said. They quit and go looking for another job, a higher paycheck or a better opportunity, thinking it will fix their problem. But it usually doesn't. So Robert asked, "Then what will solve the problem?" The rich dad tapped on his head and said, This stuff between your ears. The lesson I wanted to teach you over the last 4 weeks, that a salary and a paycheck won't make you rich. How did you feel waiting for hours to see me? once to get hired and once to ask for more money. Terrible, Robert answered. If you choose to work for money, that's what life will be like, the rich dad explained. Then he said the sentence that changed Robert's life. The rich do not work for money. Let me say this again. The rich do not work for money. Money works for them. They don't trade their time for salaries. They don't spend their lives chasing paychecks. Money works for them. They build assets that generate income even when they are not working. This is the first lesson I will teach you, and I want to ask you, are you willing to learn more? Yes, I'm willing to learn, Robert said. Good, the rich dad said. Go back to work, and this time I will pay you nothing. What? Robert was shocked. You heard me, the rich dad said. You will work the same 3 hours, but this time you will not be paid anything. You said you wanted to learn how to not work for money, so you will not be paid. Robert stood there confused. He went there asking for a raise, and here he is. He was going to work for nothing. And the powerful introduction of Rich Dad, Poor Dad comes to an end. In the next video, we'll talk about lesson number 1 from the 6 lessons the Rich Dad taught Robert Kiyosaki, the lessons that helped him become one of the most influential peoples nowadays. So if you want to continue this journey with me, make sure you subscribe and send this video to a friend, because one idea can change someone's life. And don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your time. See you in the next video.